Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Marcus from the Weekly Spot, back again with another video, and today I'm going to do a movie review of Captain America: Brave New World. So, having spent some time being Captain America, Sam Wilson, along with his partner Joaquin Torres, who is now the new Falcon, have been taking on missions and fighting threats around the globe. Their latest job was to find a mysterious item for the new elected U.S. President Thaddeus Ross. Ross plans to secure international treaties to maintain peace surrounding this item, which turns out it could be a powerful new resource. In celebration of this discovery, Ross invites Sam and Joaquin to a summit with the world leaders at the White House, and Sam accepts on the condition that his friend and veteran super soldier Isaiah Bradley is also invited. So when Sam and Joaquin and Isaiah get to the White House, things seem to be going pretty well until there was an assassination attempt on Ross's life, which resulted in tension among everyone and messing up everything that Ross has planned. And after that incident, Sam goes on an investigation to find the mastermind and the reason behind this global plot. Now, when this movie was announced, this became honestly one of my most anticipated movies, just for the simple fact that, Sam Wilson is finally getting his own movie, and Sam is one of my favorite characters in the MCU, and this is a film where we also see the character as he fully embraced the mantle of Captain America, and just seeing that evolution of Sam taking more of a prominent and leadership role. Now, this movie has been through a lot. Like, there were reshoots, there's been some controversy and backlash surrounding this film, and when it came out, that there's been some mixed reviews, and though I don't let other opinions affect mine, I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit concerned or worried. But after watching the movie, I have to say it may not be as good as I hoped it would be, but I still enjoyed it. The cast, I feel like, delivered some pretty good and strong performances, especially Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford. Anthony Mackie has always portrayed, the character Sam in a way that makes him such a likable person. Like, he's charming and optimistic. The guy is funny, badass, and much like Steve Rogers, he has like a strong sense of duty and is always fighting for what he believes in. And he's also he can also be empathetic and compassionate towards others. And the whole time I'm watching this, I'm thinking, this is Captain America. And don't get me wrong, and I'm just going to put this out there, Steve Rogers is and will forever be Captain America. There is no argument there. But when it comes to the passing of the torch and keeping that legacy going, he is a great Captain America. The next person in the cast is Harrison Ford as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, who was a lieutenant general in the U.S. Army when we were first introduced to him in the Incredible Hulk movie that came out in 2008. And in here, he is now the president. And what I thought was interesting about the character here was his attempt of redemption, as he wants to change and make up for the mistakes that he's made in the past. And the way I described the character in the Incredible Hulk movie and so forth, who was portrayed by the late William Hurt, was that the guy comes off as arrogant, ruthless, and he was also a egotistical person. Here he seems to be a little more calm and calculated, and I like the dynamic between Ross and Sam. And in this movie, we see that Ross, in Sam's surprise, wants to work with him, but Sam is pretty hesitant about it, rightfully so, because of their history. And I'm one of those people that believes that people can change, but at the same time, I'm also aware that there are some people that don't. So as the movie goes on, I'm like, is he actually trying to do better, or is there something else going on here? And not to spoil anything or give away too much, but how things ended with him, it does make me curious of what the future holds for him, assuming that there are any future plans with the character, which if we do see him again, cool, but if not, I'll be okay with that, because from what we got, I would say that the character had a pretty decent arc. Next, we got Denny Ramirez and Carl Lumbly reprising their roles as Joaquin Torres and Isaiah Isaiah Bradley, who were first introduced in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Isaiah Bradley, we learned in the Falcon and Winter Soldier, he was a Korean War veteran and super soldier who, after his years of service, was imprisoned and experimented on by the government, all while his existence was kept secret until now. And in this movie here, Isaiah and Sam, they've been talking and hanging out, which I like that they formed a friendship, and he seems to be doing okay until I'm not going to give it away, but something happens that puts the character in another bad situation. Carl Lumbly does a great job here, and while he doesn't have a lot of screen time, he does play a significant role, and on account of the character's situation plus the actor's performance, you really feel for him, because it's like this guy cannot catch a break, like, at all. Now, the last time we seen, Joaquin Torres, he was a United States Air Force intelligence officer, that would help out Sam. Here we get a passing up the torch as he's now the new Falcon. Denny Ramirez does a good job here. I really like the character of Joaquin Torres. I think the guy is hilarious, and I like the relationship between him and Sam as I feel like they share a pretty strong mentor-student dynamic, building upon their established relationship from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning of this review, this movie has faced some controversy, one of them being the character of Ruth Bath Seraph, aka Sabra, played by Shira Haas, due to her comic book origins and connection to Israel. Now there has been various opinions and criticisms surrounding the character, and because there has been some people that had expressed their concerns about the character's portrayal and the potential political implications, they made some changes to the character. Like in the comics, she was a mutant and an agent of Mossad, and here she's a former Black Widow. I mean, really, from what it looks like, they just changed her character completely. Like, the only thing this version of the character has in common with her comic book counterpart is her name. And this is a new version of the character that we're introduced to. I'm not gonna lie, she's pretty much Natasha Romanoff with her skill set and her no-nonsense attitude. But I do think that she's an okay character, and I think the actress did a good job. If anything, I just feel like the character was underdeveloped. But from what we got, I thought she was just okay, but I would have liked to know more. Now, moving on to the villains, there are 3 villains in this movie, and I don't know what I'm about to say is gonna make any sense, but even though there's one villain I think is the best out of the 3, the set of villains in this movie overall, I wouldn't go as far as to say that they were terrible, but I do feel like they were kind of underwhelming. Starting with Seth Volker, also known as Sidewinder, the leader of the Serpent Society, who is played by Giancarlo Esposito. Now, when it was announced that Giancarlo Esposito was going to be in the MCU, I was hyped. Now, honestly, I don't know anything about Sidewinder or the Serpent Society, but I mean, we got Gus Fring from Breaking Bad in the Marvel Universe, and he's an amazing actor, so that was enough for me right there. And while I do like him in the movie, and there's a pretty cool action scene between him and Sam, the character was very underutilized. He was a minor villain, and just knowing how good of a villain he could be, especially with Giancarlo Esposito playing the character, it does feel kind of wasted, and it sucks because I was really interested in seeing Sidewinder and the Serpent Society, so hopefully we get to see more of them in the future. And then there's Samuel Stearns, also known as the leader, played by Tim Blake Nelson. So the last time we saw this character, he was in The Incredible Hulk, which was also his first appearance, played by the same actor. And around the end, there was a tease of Stearns becoming the leader, and to my knowledge, we haven't seen or heard about this character again. Well, unless you want to count the comics, because apparently he made an appearance in one of the MCU comics, the Avengers Prelude, Fury's Big Week. But when it comes to movies or TV, he hasn't been seen since until now. And when it was announced that he was going to be in this movie, I was really interested in seeing what they were going to do with him. Like, he's honestly the only character out of the 3 villains that I'm a little more familiar with. And maybe this is just me having, high expectations, especially with the character not being around for so long. But knowing what I know about the leader, while I do like the character and I like how, they showcase his superhuman intelligence, I was expecting more than what we got here. Like, you understand his motivation and all that, but despite him being the main villain, the movie doesn't really explore his character any further, but instead it focuses on other characters and plot points, etc. But this is his first appearance since The Incredible Hulk, and also his first appearance as a villain, so hopefully we see more of him, because I feel like the movie didn't give us the, the character's full potential. But the one thing, I will say that, if they do bring him back, I hope they change his look, because I do not like his design at all. Like, he looks, weird and gross, and not to say that he doesn't look crazy in the comics, but in comparison, his look is kind of simple, if that's the right word for it, because he's just a man with green skin and a big head, like a big green forehead, that's it. And in the movie, they just did too much, so I'm just not a fan. And last but not least, there is the Red Hulk. Now, Red Hulk did not have a lot of screen time, but he's easily the best out of the three, and I know that's crazy for me to say because of what I said about the other villains, but the reason why I feel like the Red Hulk is the exception is because this movie showed what a lot of people, including myself for a while, have been missing from the Hulk, and that is the savagery. Like, the Red Hulk was a savage in this movie, and obviously Sam wasn't going to die, especially since we know he's coming back for Avengers Doomsday and the Secret Wars, but I was kind of scared for him. Like, they actually made the Red Hulk terrifying in this. Like, the Red Hulk was pretty awesome in this movie. Like, it sucks that we didn't see more of Sidewinder and the Serpent Society, and the leader, at least for me, he didn't live up to the hype. But the Hulk, we've seen how cool he was when he was first introduced in the MCU, but now he's just been done dirty lately. And I know it's not the same because Hulk and Red Hulk are completely different, but at this point I'll take it, because like I said in the video where I was giving my thoughts on the movie, that they have been failing the Hulk lately, and I just hope that they don't do the same with Red. And after watching the movie, I can say that they didn't. And even though he's not fully comic book accurate, and that's to assume that this is going to be his only appearance, because again, it's not that long of a scene, and even though it's not the Hulk that we've been wanting to see more of, it's just nice to see a savage Hulk again in the MCU. But anyways, now this movie I thought had a decent story. I liked that it had that Winter Soldier vibe to it. It had a pretty nice soundtrack. I can definitely say that I wasn't bored. It was a pretty fast-paced movie. It just kept going and going, and I like how, how the movie looks. There are some parts of the movie where it looks kind of iffy with the CGI and all that, but overall it wasn't a terrible looking film. The action scenes I thought were pretty good, especially that aerial scene. The only problem that I really have for this movie is that I feel like it's not well balanced with everything going on. And usually I like when the movie has a lot going on, as long as it's well balanced, and here it just feels like it's all over the place with, bringing in new things in the MCU while also bringing back things that were introduced in previous MCU projects. Like, this is the fourth Captain America movie, but also a continuation of the Falcon and Winter Soldier, the Incredible Hulk, and I guess you can say the Eternals, because this movie does bring back a pretty big plot point from that movie. And I can appreciate, this movie for bringing back characters, addressing plot points, etc. from previous projects, because a lot of people, including myself, thought that was all forgotten about, so I will give the movie points for that. But how they did it though, it just feels like it was all crammed in. Like, they could have either saved some of that for like a sequel, or save it for like a different MCU project, or spread it out to different projects. And the last thing I want to say is that for a Captain America movie, and maybe it's just me, but for a Captain America movie, it doesn't necessarily feel like a Captain America movie, Like, Anthony Mackie is the star, and the movie does follow Sam Wilson, but while this movie does reintroduce Sam as the new Captain America, the movie I feel doesn't focus entirely on Sam and his journey as Captain America. The movie I feel like was more so focused on connections to other parts of the MCU and incorporating elements from other franchises. And I understand that this is a universe, I get it, but I feel like the focus should have been the other way around, especially for this movie to not only be the fourth Captain America movie, but the first movie where we get Sam Wilson as Captain America and as the main guy. Like, he finally gets a solo movie, which honestly I feel like we should have had a Falcon movie before this. And again, maybe that's just me, and I know we have Falcon and Winter Soldier, but there were some things in that show that they didn't really explore that I was hoping that they would in this, which is diving a little more into his backstory, but hopefully we get that in the sequel. Overall, I don't love this movie, but I don't hate it either. Like, I think it's just, okay. Like, this movie does have its problems with, having too much going on, not being all that well balanced. But, it still has some great performances, some great action. It had a decent story. It looks good. I like the music. Like, despite its problems, I still found some entertainment and enjoyment out of it. Like, I've seen some comments and some videos of people saying that this is the worst MCU movie, or like one of the worst MCU movies, and I would have to disagree. Like, the worst MCU movie I'm thinking of right now, like, this movie doesn't even come close to that. And if that's how you feel, like, if you don't like this movie, that's fine, that is your opinion. But to say that it's the worst though, like, I don't know about that. Like, this movie, it does have its problems, but it's still a fun movie. Like, for me, there's at least enough there to where, like, I would want to see a sequel, and I hope that they do come out with a sequel and it turns out to be much better. So with all that being said, I will give Captain America Brave New World a 3.5 out of 5.
You want me? Come and get me!
And that is it for this video and my review for Captain America Brave New World, and let me know what you think. This is Marcus from the Weekly Spy. More content will be coming out soon, but until then, take care everyone.